Next question. Would you recommend animators promote themselves as individuals on social media or begin an IP of some kind? Or would a hybrid approach be best? Depends on your goal. So when I was starting to promote my short film, I wanted to merge it with my own account, so with my own personal brand, because I know that products that are tied with a face, with a personal story, generally perform better. People attach to it more. That's one reason. And the other reason is I knew that I'm not gonna keep talking about my short film forever. My marketing campaign ran something like a year or so, and then I got tired of it, and then I switched to promoting my program animation for social media and talking about content and everything I learned. But basically, I knew that I will not be talking about it forever, and that I will use that following I gained from promoting a short film to something else. And that's how it turned out to be after all, because now all that following and all that credibility, trust I gain with my audience, I'm actually using it to promote my product, Animation for Social Media, an online program where I help animators and studios promote their own product. So that's kind of it. But if you are creating an animated IP online, then yes, I would advise that splitting into a separate Instagram or TikTok account. I wouldn't have animations that you're planning to post on a consistent basis mixed with your personal life and the process behind that. So if you are a smaller, I wouldn't say even a smaller, but just if you have a different goal, I wouldn't keep personal stuff and animated content on the same account, but I would keep making off like the process of making that animated IP on my personal account. That's for sure, because you can then migrate some of your audience to that animated IP. So that's how I would think about it. And definitely, if you're opening an IP account, don't mix viewport stuff, references, everything that an animator would be interested in seeing. So don't cater that content for animation community. Cater that content for general audience, because animated content falls into an entertainment niche, which is the hardest niche to compete in, because you're competing with Netflix, movie theaters, games, everyone and anyone who is trying to entertain people. So try to keep that consistent on one page if you're just having animated content, and everything else keep on your personal account. All right, next question. What is the place of story or lore in the IP content? So this is very important to understand, and this is where I see a lot of people are making a mistake in terms of they're trying to put all their character story lore into short format videos. They're trying to connect their episodes. They're trying to have the audience remember one character after just a couple of videos and remember that character has that specific personality, and that's why he did that thing in the next video. Don't try to expect from your audience they know anything about your IP. So every video you make should be made almost like the audience is seeing it for the very first time. And you don't want to explain what happened in the previous episodes. Short format is not for that, especially TikTok and Instagram. So if you look at all the major animated IPs, Chimpers, Mulang, Kleino, Zoomies, so they're all Zoomies is an exception. They're going more into a storytelling, but the ones I mentioned before, so Mocha Bear, Coco and Daisy, Kenny's Gift, Happy Potato, It's Lenny. So all of them are going into meme, not meme-esque, but vibe-esque and meme-esque videos. So they're there to give you some sort of feeling and vibe. They're not necessarily story driven always. Zoom is an exception. But on YouTube, you're gonna see content that has slightly more leverage. Uh, Audience has a different behavior on YouTube where they can see more stories in shorts specifically. So I'm going to tell you a couple of YouTube successful IPs. Go check out What's Beanie, Plan Tree, Gooey Duck Tunes, Brie Animations, and Good Advice Cupcakes. So these IPs are very different from, let's say, Pudgy Penguin and, I don't know, Mulang, Chimpers. You can see how the storytelling is very different. I just realized this question was not what's the difference between the platforms, but the point is this: keep your short for short, and your long format is almost like your marriage, where the audience can get commit, be there with you. They want to find out about the world you created, and your shorts is like a Tinder. It's almost like, do I like you or not? Are you gonna make me smile or not? I don't want to marry you after 3 short videos. So think of it like that. All right, next question. What would be your advice on posting animation tests for release project, even if you weren't picked up by the studio? One of the experienced animators advised me not to include it in the reel, but how about posting it on social media? So the first question I would ask is, did you use a client's rig or just a free rig of the internet? And then I would see, what does it say in the contract you signed with them when you did the test. Does it say anything about posting publicly? And if it doesn't, then I would reach out to client and I would ask them, hey, this would really help me find my next job or promote my services as an animator. Would you mind if I posted this on social media? Of course, I wouldn't mention your name or anything like that. I just want to find a job, basically, but in your own words, something like that. All right, next question. If all shorts or reels follow the same structure, optimized for highest reach, then wouldn't they all look and sound the same? In that case, wouldn't a short that is different from the rest, not having an immediate hook, for example, stand out more? Won't they all look the same? Yes, of course. And that happens all the time. It's basically a concept from a book called Blue Ocean Strategy. Go read it. It talks about how content, businesses, everything online, it's a game of inventing new stuff. And then depending on how that new stuff is easily replicable, and if it's easily replicable, everyone else can replicate it. And immediately that new stuff is not new anymore. And now we need to invent a new stuff. And that's an endless circle. It's called the blue ocean because that new stuff is basically a blue ocean where you don't have any competition. You have a horizon ahead of you and you're the only one in your niche, kind of like what I'm doing now with my own program, where I merged marketing and animation. And a red ocean, as a comparison, would be all the animation studios, everyone who is offering just animation services, because there's so many of them, they're all competing for the same market and with the same services. They're very little things that one studio can differentiate from another. So they're basically in a blood market. That's how that book would describe it. But if you basically merge two things that are unmergeable so far, you can create a new market where you don't have a competition. Of course, as the time progresses, as we learn as a community about animation on social media, more people are going to migrate to the blue ocean. And it's the same thing as with content. So if you take a look at Chimper's animated IP, they, for example, I'm not sure if they invented it, but they're the first ones that I've seen they're using. But they basically use a lot this gamified content where they're triggering the viewer to watch their content almost like a gamer would play a game, like placing their finger on the screen or following the finger following their characters or doing all sorts of interactions with the viewer in order to keep them watching the video till the end. And that is novelty. I haven't seen that before in content. And as soon as something is novel, that triggers the light bulb in viewers' mind. Oh, what is this? I want to see and follow it up. But ever since I've discovered it, like, I don't know, a couple of months before, I'm seeing so many other IPs use it. And over time, it's losing its novelty. And people already see it, so it's not as triggering for a viewer to stop and interact with it because so many other people are using it. It's becoming a red ocean. So artists, especially and creators online, are always in that game. So we are always thinking of new formats of making content so the viewer actually sticks with us. And if you follow, for example, Brandon Kane, he's someone who is also experimenting a lot with content creation and talks about all these different ideations, content creations, content creators, and what they're doing in a different ways that is standing out and attracting audience and attention. Or if you follow the Instagram page, The Branding AI, they're a really good account. It's just one of them I follow that are also almost like a hub of all the novel content that are popping out. I'm not sure how, if you remember, there was a period of time where stitching hooks, like where you have an accident or someone slipping or falling, and then a business would stitch that with their own product. Like, I don't know, you have a funny video of someone falling off their bike, and then they would stitch that with a business who would sell, I don't know, computers or something. But the movement would be fluid, nicely edited. And for a while, everyone was using that, and it worked because people saw it as something novel and hey, let's copy it to increase our views. And for a while, it does work. But then people just caught on to it and they were like, I've seen this, give me something new. But your next question, wouldn't a short that's if not having an immediate hook, for example, stand out more? So this is where you need to understand what are the trends that are always changing and what is the structure, the human psychology that never changes. And that is something we're working on in my program because I want you to, as artists, as creators, know the core principles, like the stable foundation upon you will build your storytelling. And then everything else, trends, memes, you can build on top, experiment, whatever. But you need to understand like the suspense, surprise, and setup. And hook is the setup, but hook needs to be, hook is always gonna exist because you need to intrigue the viewer in the first 3 seconds. Why should they care about your video? Why should they watch it? So hook is never gonna change as a structure, but how you design that hook is gonna change. It would be like saying that just because you have, for example, for long format videos, just because you have 3 act structure, you can have different movies. For example, Titanic, Jurassic Park, Tootsie, they all have 3 act structure. So setup, conflict, and resolution. That's 3 act structure for movies. But would you say those 3 movies are the same movies or even more? Would you say they maybe copied each other or they may be boring to watch just because they use the same structure? Of course not. So those are very different movies, but they're using the same construction. It's almost like building a house. So you have the same foundation, you have the same structure, but how you want to design that house, how many rooms do you want to have, how many bathrooms is up to you as a creator. But you need to know how to recognize, especially if you're copying or if you're just creating your own content, to recognize those psychological triggers, to recognize why certain content went viral. What psychological trigger happened in the viewer's brain so they stayed in that video. And once you understand that, that's the first step. The second step is to reiterate a lot. And the third step is only going to bring you, is when you're going to see the results. So that's kind of the 3 stages that you need to go through in order to create a successful content. So that is kind of it. I would end it here. Hope these answers were helpful to you. I'm probably going to organize maybe a live or another one of these Q&As in January. But hope you're seeing that content is not naively or easily made. It has deep structures and deep roots why certain content works and why certain content doesn't. And how can you learn basically storytelling structures and format for shorts? Because 3 act structure doesn't work in shorts. Setup, conflict, and resolution doesn't work in shorts. As soon as you have setup, the viewer is out. So what would be, for example, in Titanic, the setup would be Rose is from a rich family, Jack is from a poor family, and they're all preparing to go on this ship cruise, basically. And the viewer simply doesn't like that in short format videos. They don't like too much explanation, too much context, too much world setting, world building. They want to see conflict immediately. They want to see a juxtaposition. The easiest way to stop someone scrolling and watch your video is to create a split in viewer's brain, to make them ask a question. And the more questions you ask in your video, the longer the viewer is going to stay and watch your video till the end. So in shorts, you actually want to reorder that structure. You want to put the conflict first and then provide some context, then provide some setup, and then end it with a resolution. But the difference is the resolution needs to be so strong an emotional reaction that someone is going to share it, or the video is going to make your video is going to make the viewer smart, so they want to share it on their story and showcase how smart they are. So think of it in that way. So what can you say so someone would be prompted to share it? And all of this and much, much more we are learning in animation for social media. How can you package your animation-related content for short format videos? If you don't know what animation for social media is, it's an online group program I created for animators, small studios who wanna basically launch their IPs online, or they already have some animated projects and they just want to redistribute them for social media, or if you have your short film or anything that's animated that you want to basically adjust for vertical feed. That is something I'm teaching in the program, where you'll basically be creating 4 videos for 4 weeks of duration of the program. You're going to get 4 live calls with me where I react directly to your videos or your scripting or your editing, whatever you need the most, depending on what stage of production you are in. And I help you how to look the content from a marketing angle, from a virality angle, from human psychology angle, so you know how to engineer and optimize your video for the biggest reach. We start in January. I'm gonna announce the date probably after the holidays, after the New Year's. And we're gonna go from there. Price is 750 euros. You can sign with the link below. And thank you so much for watching and listening. And I'm gonna see you in the next video. Bye.